Austin Live. You're watching us right here on the Fox Local app. You can also join us on YouTube Live as well. Just go to our page, Fox 7 Austin, click the Live tab. Typically, we wait to bring our reporter Jenna King into maybe our next segment, but we figured with the story and how much attention obviously this story got, this is a story I don't think we'll ever stop talking about, those deadly 4th of July floodings, specifically in dealing with Camp Mystic, a tragedy, just a horrible thing that happened there. And the reason I say we're going to keep talking about it is because now we're dealing with consequences and fallout, and people obviously are feeling the brunt of this. So terrible what happened, but it looks as though there's some movement happening for those families that suffered this. So what is the latest? What is this you have here on our desk?
Yeah, lots of papers. Yeah, like you mentioned, it's been about 7 months since July, since this horrible tragedy that really just, rocked this whole community. And a lot of interesting developments this week, like you mentioned. First, let's start with this lawsuit. So the families, 7 families, total of 9 families are, I talked to this Houston-based attorney, they are suing. We've heard a lot of talk about suing actual Camp Mystic themselves.
Right.
We're suing the State Department, that DSHS. So interesting. This is kind of the first.
They're not going after the physical Camp Mystic. They're going after state officials.
They have a separate lawsuit toward Camp Mystic, but this is the first we're hearing of we're going against these state officials. So very interesting development there. And essentially, they are claiming that Camp Mystic or these state officials that go in and are supposed to make sure, right, that everything is up to code and that there's no issues, and they have to go through, do all these checks. Essentially, in a nutshell, they're saying that Camp Mystic did not, or these officials did not give a proper evacuation plan. So under Texas law, you're supposed to have the plan posted, up for everyone to see, event of emergency, stuff like that, what to do. And they actually have a printed out copy of what was displayed in the cabin. In case of a flood, all campers on Senior Hill, so that's, the older kids, must stay in their cabins. They will be given instructions through the loudspeaker. If the electricity is off, walkie-talkies will be used. Food and other supplies will be delivered. Campers and counselors never wander away from your cabin.
So they were essentially told, in the event of something happening, stay put.
Same thing, those on the flats. The flats are like the lower areas near that, right by the river. Must also stay in their cabins unless told otherwise by the office. All cabins are constructed on high, safe locations, which we have learned is not the case. So very interesting, and essentially this 30-page lawsuit, to break it down, is saying that there was no evacuation plan ever, right? It was just he said it was just sort of like a ticking time bomb, stay there, and there was no plan. He also mentioned that, and again, I haven't confirmed this part necessarily, but that they didn't have any walkie-talkies or cell phones from the camp, so they couldn't communicate, and so just a lot of confusion. And so as a result, you can imagine that some campers evacuated.
Right.
Some stayed put because that's what the rules say. Others are waiting for help that maybe doesn't come. One cabin, I saw a counselor tried to pick up the kids in his truck, and the truck got swept away in the water, and all the children died. So essentially, all of it's a 30-page document, but in a nutshell, it is just saying that these state officials who go through and are supposed to, there's rules and regulations.
This part is interesting here from the quote. It says the lawsuit alleges that by failing to enforce state safety laws, these DSHS that's hard to say.
I know, it's
DSHS officials quote consciously and recklessly endangered the children. So that's a pretty bold statement to say they consciously and recklessly endangered the children. And they were saying that these laws were designed to protect, but it was in fact violating their constitutional rights.
And they even put the paperwork that these DSHS workers have to go through and signed off. It even had a photo in this lawsuit. Is there a written plan of procedures to be implemented in case of a disaster, serious accident, epidemic, fatality? Are all camp staff and volunteer made aware of the plan? Is there documentation or training on the plan? And you can see they went by and said yes, yes, yes.
Wow.
And the interesting thing is that this all happened. It was inspected 2 days before this flooding. So the timeline is really
kind of chilling.
Yeah, just it's crazy to think about.
And just so people know, I mean,
Yes.
we have an official document here from Dan Patrick, obviously the Texas Lieutenant Governor. He said that he sent this letter to Texas DSHS, and he is urging them not to issue a 2026 camping license to Camp Mystic. But as we have reported over the last several months, they plan to reopen this summer just less than a year after all this occurred. Did you ask the lawyer about how does that work? Like, are they still allowed to operate?
Yeah.
What will happen?
So essentially in the lawsuit, like you said, Camp Mystic has announced plans to reopen. We knew that, and that is, obviously been widely debated by a lot of people.
Right.
But in the lawsuit, it says Camp Mystic's current license expires on March 6th, the license that the state issues. And so for them to reopen, they have to renew that license. So that's coming up, March 6th.
Right. And Dan Patrick is saying, I'm urging them not to, which is, I mean, a pretty heavy hand to put out there with political pressure to say don't do this. I mean, did the lawyer say if he thinks they will?
He said he agrees wholeheartedly with this Dan Patrick's plea of we stand by this and we don't think, Dan Patrick also saying I wouldn't feel comfortable sending my grandchild, to a camp. So pretty powerful messaging, and just like you said, urging. He didn't say whether or not he thought, kind of where this would go. He was just hoping this is a play to not type of thing, so we never have to deal with this situation again.
Right.
We were just talking before this, right? Like, we know for sure one little girl's still missing.
I know, it's heartbreaking.
And it's just
horrible.
And so, essentially he's asking the state, to put a stop to that decision.
I did want to pull this up because you mentioned this right before we started. We can pull this in there. We're up there in the corner in case you missed us.
Yeah.
So Wes, is it Verdell?
Yes, I think
Texas
so.
State Rep here, you pointed this out, and he put this out yesterday, tweeting out, obviously he's a Republican as well, as you can see here. House District 53 is the state rep here. He says he's a Jeffersonian Republican, more liberty, less government. He responded to this letter that we just talked about here, that Jenna is talking about, and we'll read through it here. And he says, while Dan Patrick and I do agree on many things, I strongly disagree with the Lieutenant Governor's position on this. The camp is not reopening the same cabins that were in the flood. Also, the camp is hit with an unprecedented flood that has not been seen in centuries, and Camp Mystic is the first camp to install the new flood warning systems way ahead with help from the government. I have strong concerns that the Kerrville area and camps won't get a fair investigation if this is the position of the Lieutenant Governor. I offered amendments that would have fixed the camp safety bill, and instead we are facing a lot of camp closures that have zero flood risk. Wow. So clearly here you're getting some pushback even on the GOP side of things as well, because I think people are concerned that just because this happened now, is it going to shut off or close out all of these other camps, even if they are deemed safe, even if they do have the proper protocols and or advancements that we've seen here.
Yeah, I was going to say one could make the argument that they've made these new advancements in the flood warning systems, right? Or we're going to take this and really grow from the experience, or maybe we're not going to use those maybe we're going to have these cabins up here now. Maybe we're going to have these protocols in place for when these. But it really is an emotional issue, and when you have the Lieutenant Governor get involved, it's a
Well, and I think it's, as we mentioned at the very beginning here, I mean, obviously this is something that I think a lot of people don't want to see images of anymore, or don't want to be reminded of it, but we're going to keep having to talk about it because things like this are going to continue to happen with lawsuits. I think a lot of people out there want people to be held responsible, and anybody that they can go after to try and blame this on, clearly they will do it. And the Lieutenant Governor trying to probably remove anything from their office or what the governor's office is doing, or Lieutenant Governor, and say, hey, it's actually the fault of these people. So someone's going to take the hit here.
Yeah, absolutely. And an interesting thing the lawyer said was it's camp. He said the fault is Camp Mystic and these state officials. He wasn't just pointing the finger at one or the other. And
you reached out. You may have mentioned this, but I heard you talking earlier. You did reach out to DSHS And what did they say?
Yeah, they said they haven't been served yet, so they're still waiting for, I guess, the paperwork to come down. But they said that they don't comment on pending litigation. So trying to get their perspective on all of this, because I'm sure they're we made these. They have their list and their protocols they have to go through, and so it is definitely. The commissioner Jennifer Shuford, I think that's how that's the main head commissioner, but also it listed a bunch of other members that are part of the team. So.
Once again, if you're just joining us, Jenny here talking about the most recent litigation involving Camp Mystic, that horrible July 4th flooding from last year. It killed 27 campers and counselors, and we have 9 families here that are going after not Camp Mystic specifically, but state officials basically saying they, let me get the quote correctly, consciously and recklessly endangered the children, the laws that were designed to protect their constitutional rights. Horrible story all the way around.
He said if it unfortunately could have been, this could have been avoidable if these checks were done properly, or if we had more of a plan in place as opposed to some signage,
Right. I think moving forward, this will forever affect the way these types of situations are handled, and we hope everyone obviously stays safe with all this. And it's unfortunately, I think, something that they're going to have to keep looking back at to try and figure out how they can be more safe. Jenna King, thanks for joining us. You'll have this story when?
9 o'clock, but we're starting a little bit late tonight.
Right, I was going to say, we have the State of the Union tonight, obviously, which you're going to be able to, if you're wondering where the 9 o'clock news is, well, starting at 8 o'clock, President Donald Trump giving his first State of the Union address, I believe, in his second term here. And so we will have that. They will come on after. Jenna will have more details once that ends. We're also going to check in on an alternative event going on in D.C. called the State of the Swamp, which I can see up on our screen there. So when we come back, we'll check in on that. We'll also talk about the Tony Gonzalez scandal, and we'll also look into what Marco Bittnell's story is as well. You're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. I'll try and find it.
I can pop it into a live view.
Okay, thank you.
Or I can try.
Welcome back to Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. If you're just joining us on this Tuesday, we just had Jenna King in to talk about some litigation involving that horrific July 4th flooding from last summer. Camp Mystic here involved, and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick sending a letter to the Texas DSHS urging them not to issue a 2026 camping license to Camp Mystic. Now, I obviously, as we mentioned here, that lawsuit by those families is actually going against the state officials, putting blame on them. So we'll continue to follow that as we learn more information. With the primary just about exactly a week away now, we've got a massive scandal here involving Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez. I teased it a little bit before the break, but this story has really taken off. It's not only become a story here in Texas, but it has become a national story as well, and the details of this are wild. So if you're not aware of what happened back in September, an aide of Tony Gonzalez, who is a congressman for District 23, that district essentially runs from West San Antonio all the way down to El Paso. It's a huge area, and it runs along the Mexico border there. So his aide, a woman by the name of Regina Ann Santos Aviles, she died. She died in a house fire, and it was later deemed a suicide by self-immolation according to the Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office. She was 35 years old, dying in September of 2025, setting herself on fire in the backyard of her Uvalde home. At the time when this thing first came out, and I was talking with our chief political reporter, Rudy Koski, about this, it would sound like somebody wanted to cause harm to somebody. You're setting fire to someone, you're setting fire to their home, you're trying to send a message, but then through the investigation here and through the Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office, they are ruling that death as a suicide. Okay, so flash forward now to February of 2026. Here we are coming from September. We are just a week away from the primary on March 3rd. And Tony Gonzalez is facing the same person that he faced 2 years ago. And that person is Brandon Herrera. And he defeated him by fewer than 400 votes back in 2024. They had a runoff. I mean, that's how close this race was. This guy is basically a social media influencer, if you will. They call him the AK guy, Brandon Herrera. He's got 4.2 million subscribers on YouTube. He is very popular on Twitter. And because of all this now, we've got this fight going on, and many people are calling for Representative Gonzalez to resign because now they're saying that staffer he had, this Regina Aviles, Santos Aviles, they are saying that he, Gonzalez, had an alleged affair with his former staffer, who obviously later died and set herself on fire. Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky joined other representatives, Lauren Boebert of Colorado, Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, and Nancy Mace of South Carolina in demanding that Gonzalez step down immediately. He was asked about this today. You'll see in the Capitol people trying to run him down, saying, hey, are you going to resign? And he's saying no. He's saying wait until all the facts come out. He told reporters he will not resign. Now, if he were to, it would leave the Republicans with a 217-214 majority until March, when the first of 3 special elections to fill vacancies is set in Georgia. And this is what he said, quote, there will be opportunities for all of the details and facts to come out. He said, what you've seen is not all the facts. I do just want to pull up a video of him here, just so you get an idea of who I am talking about, and then it'll also be a side-by-side with the woman as well, who unfortunately died back in September. If I can pull this thing up here. Here it is. So this is the two of them. I'm just going to leave this running. So that's her on the left of your screen, and that is Congressman Tony Gonzalez on the right there. And so as I mentioned, if you're just joining us here, many people asking for Tony Gonzalez to resign after reports of an alleged affair with a former staffer here on the left, that is Regina Ann Santos Aviles. She allegedly wrote to a colleague that she had an affair with Gonzalez. Now, the Associated Press says they have not independently obtained copies of those messages. An attorney for Aviles' husband has said that the husband found out about the affair before his wife's death. Once again, she died in September of 2025. They ruled it a suicide. Thomas Massey, once again being asked about this, the representative from Kentucky, saying, where are the other men in the GOP? He's going on Twitter and asking for Gonzalez to resign. He added that Trump should revoke his endorsement. As we know, Trump endorsed Congressman Gonzalez back in December. Now, Gonzalez, as I mentioned, he's got this massive district. He has 6 children with his wife. So now you've got all of that involved with this. We're a week out away from the primary. He is not wanting to step down or resign in all of this. He says the allegation of blackmail, he's alleging blackmail, is based on an email from the attorney for the staffer's husband, Robert Barrera, discussing a possible lawsuit against the lawmaker and a potential settlement with a non-disclosure agreement. The email says that the maximum recoverable amount is $300,000. Barrera has said he was not trying to blackmail Gonzalez and called the accusation an attempt by the congressman to look like a political victim. This is a mess here. This is a total mess here for Representative Tony Gonzalez. But a week out from this primary, not wanting to resign, as I mentioned, the guy he's going against, Brandon Herrera, he's a gun manufacturer, he's a gun rights influencer, calls himself the AK guy, very popular on YouTube, 4.2 million subscribers. And back in 2024, Gonzalez only beating him by less than 400 votes. I do want to read something here from Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. He was asked today about this and whether or not he believes Gonzalez should resign. He says, quote, if the accusation of something is going to be the litmus for someone being able to continue to serve in the House, a lot of people would have to resign or be removed or expelled from Congress. So essentially, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson saying, wait until all the details come out, wait until all the facts are out and the investigation runs its full course. Meanwhile, the other representative, Nancy Mace of South Carolina, announced that she has introduced a resolution to force the House Ethics Commission to publicly release its reports and records of allegations of sexual harassment against members of Congress. Once again, this is the woman here who reportedly killed herself, according to the Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office, self-immolation, setting herself on fire. And we are learning now that there's an alleged affair between her and Representative Tony Gonzalez here. The Republican has a wife and 6 children, and he is just a week out from trying to get a re-election there. Unbelievable. So just a crazy story that he's having to deal with there. I do want to point out that while we are talking about this, we are just about an hour away from President Trump's State of the Union address. There's been a lot of banter online about how long this thing is going to be. President Trump has said it is going to be long. He wants to talk about all the great things that are going on in the United States, once again calling this the golden age and that this is the best the economy's ever been. And he even told reporters and anchors that met, there was a small media meeting earlier today, and he met with some of them just to kind of preview this and saying he's going to talk about the economy, and he believes that the next 3 years of his presidency will be the best the economy has ever been in the United States, and he's believing it's just getting started now. Now, while this is all happening, and because at this point it seems like we are a country that is so divided, we have to have an alternative event for anything major that's going on. That's what we have right now in Washington, D.C. We saw the Super Bowl having their own alternative situation there, with the conservative side of things putting out their own halftime show with Turning Point USA and Kid Rock, etc., and some country singers that really haven't been popular in like a decade. But we have right here, and I'm looking at it on the screen, we have a State
former
of
National
the
Security
Swamp
official
event going
and
on right
author
now in
Asha
DC.
Rangappa.
We do know that Robert De Niro and the actor Robert De Niro and the other actor Mark Ruffalo are reportedly there. I haven't seen them talk. I don't know who has talked so far, but there's an event going on right now called State of the Swamp. They are clearly mocking President Donald Trump. They are saying that the State of the Union is not something they need to go to. As you can see there, they have defiance.org on there. You've got, it looks like the Capitol behind them, an American flag, butterflies. I'm not quite sure what the bald eagle is holding there. It's like a sub sandwich, perhaps. But there is an alternative event going on. We will try to check on it as best we can. I don't know if you can hear her there, but if De Niro or if Mark Ruffalo comes up, maybe you want to hear from them. But they've got about an hour and 5 minutes until the actual State of the Union address starts. in which case our normal 9 o'clock news will not be running, of course. We'll have to wait until that's over. And then on top of that, the Democrats are going to have their response. Obviously not going to be anywhere near as long as that. It never is. It's a shorter response. As far as we know, it'll be from New Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'll keep an eye on the state of the swamp here. I'll let you know if anything else happens with that. And once again, you're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. I'll keep an eye on other stuff too. And we will get an update on Nancy Guthrie. I've tried to avoid talking about it, but we do have some more updates today. Savannah Guthrie releasing another video. And that reward has now moved up to $1 million. So that's certainly grabbing a lot of headlines. We'll cover that as well. You're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. Hey guys, welcome back. You are watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. Of course, you can follow us on all of our social media at Fox 7 Austin and our website, fox7austin.com. It's something we've been following for nearly 25 days now. Ever since February 1st, everyone's been talking about 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie gone missing. Still, we don't know where she is. We've had leads here and there. We've had people detained. We've had people questioned. We've had video released of an alleged kidnapper coming to that Nest camera, that capturing it at the front door. We've got Nancy Guthrie's blood out there on the front porch. We have a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, it would appear we have more questions than answers. And it looks as though Savannah Guthrie, the co-host of the Today Show, is starting to come to grips with the fact that her mother may have already passed away, and now it's a recovery effort. And so we were wondering if she was going to release another video. We hadn't heard from her in more than a week, and that did come down today. And so Savannah Guthrie releasing this video this morning. I will pull it up. It is a little longer than the other videos, but she's really trying to get the attention of maybe someone who knows the answers to what she's looking for, and they have moved this reward up to $1 million to try and get attention. So we'll listen in, and then we'll react to it after. This is Savannah Guthrie's latest video regarding her 84-year-old mother, Nancy Guthrie.
Hi there. I'm coming on to say it is day 24 since our mom was taken in the dark of night from her bed. And every hour and minute and second and every long night has been agony since then, of worrying about her and fearing for her and aching for her, and most of all, just missing her, We know that millions of you have been praying. So many people have been praying of every faith and no faith at all, praying for her return, and we feel those prayers. Please keep praying without ceasing. We still believe. We still believe in a miracle. We still believe that she can come home. Hope against hope. As my sister says, we are blowing on the embers of hope. We also know that she may be lost. She may already be gone. She may have already gone home to the Lord that she loves and is dancing in heaven with her mom and her dad and with her beloved brother Pierce and with our daddy. And if this is what is to be, then we will accept it. But we need to know where she is. We need her to come home. For that reason, we are offering a family reward of up to $1 million for any information that leads us to her recovery. All of the information about this reward and the details is in the caption below. You can call the 1-800-TIP line. You can be anonymous if you want. Someone out there knows something that can bring her home. Somebody knows. And we are begging you to please come forward now. We also know that we are not alone in our loss. We know there are millions of families that have suffered with this kind of uncertainty. And for that reason today, we also are donating $500,000 to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children for their work in helping families who are coping with loss and actively looking for those who are lost. We are hoping that the attention that has been given to our mom and our family will extend to all the families like ours who are in need and need prayers and need support. So please, if you hear this message, if you've been waiting and you haven't been sure, let this be your sign to please come forward, tell what you know, and help us bring our beloved mom home so that we can either celebrate a glorious, miraculous homecoming or celebrate the beautiful, brave, and courageous and noble life that she has lived. Please be the light in the dark.
That was Savannah Guthrie there talking to her social media following. Obviously, that's been shared on just about every media site available as well. It had been a little more than a week since we had last heard from her, and this was a message that was much longer. This is a message that came at a way of saying, hey, we know it would probably take a miracle for her to actually return safely at this point, sort of coming to terms with that her mom may be gone. She did mention that if she is, she hopes she's dancing in heaven with her other relatives, her father, her brother, and other people she knows. And she says, if you've had any hesitation, maybe this will finally be the amount of money to get you to say something, to get you to actually come forward and let us know where our mother is, and that reward going up to, now she did say up to $1 million, so I'm sure there's some contingencies or qualifications as to what it means to actually be able to get that $1 million, but that's the situation in which they're dealing with right now. She's been able to remain calm throughout all of this, and I'm sure the FBI and other law enforcement, anyone dealing with the negotiations on this or teaching her how to speak to someone like this, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of anger, resentment. There's some other things she probably wants to say, but in trying to appeal to this person, trying to humanize Nancy Guthrie, obviously, and get them to tell her something, so even if her mother is gone, she can at least bring her back to, as she says, they're sort of celebrate her life, a celebration of life, and honor her even in her death. So that's the latest on what we know as of now. Like I said, it's been 24 days of this, and it doesn't appear that they are any closer to finding someone. We do know that they have reached out to officials in Mexico. We do know that there's a group of women in Mexico that do this, on the side, basically, is like this organized group that tries to find missing people. But we have also heard from the Pima County Sheriff's Office, hey, get out of the way and let the professionals do this. So there are some people that are trying to take this into their own hands here and try and help and find her. We used to have a camera pretty much at all times outside of Nancy Guthrie's home. I'm not seeing that anymore, but it looks as though Nancy Guthrie is, or no, I shouldn't say Nancy, that Savannah Guthrie has taken this to say, hey, we're going to put $1 million out there, and maybe finally that's the kind of financial number we need to put out there to get somebody to actually do something, to get somebody to actually come forward and give us some real information. We'll try to switch gears from that. As I said, we've been monitoring an event that's going on, an alternative event. Like I said, I think at this point, anytime there's a major event now, with everything so divided politically, you've got an actual event going on, this, a traditional event such as the Super Bowl or the State of the Union, and now instead people protesting that, saying they don't want to watch this or that, and they've got their own alternative events going on. I've never seen this before. I don't know if any of you have. If you have, let us know. We have a new little thing. I can't see it on my screen here, but I can see it on another screen over there. There's a little QR code. I guess that would be on the left side of your screen there. You can scan that. You can share your comments with us. You can share any sort of content with us. Scan that on your phone. Send us any questions you may have, any comments you may have, any pictures, videos you may have, anything going on. We will try to bring that up, similar to what we did during the ice storm here a couple weeks ago, and try and actually show what everyone was doing around Central Texas and bringing that right there on the screen. So just go ahead, scan that QR code. Let us know if you have any comments, questions. We'll try to answer those. We'll try to interact with you. We've also got our little TikTok simulcast going here as well. You can join that. You can ask us questions on there. Trying our best to interact with you, and you guys can help steer the conversation as well. We're going to take another break. I'm going to check in on this State of the Swamp and see who's talking or who's slated to come next. We were told Robert De Niro and Mark Ruffalo, the actors, would be involved. I have not seen them. I would assume if you're going to have names like that, they would probably come at the end. And then, of course, President Trump is actually going to deliver that address in just under an hour, about 50 minutes from now. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. You're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. Hey guys, welcome back into Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. We just heard someone here in the newsroom say, what is the state of the swamp? That's a great question. The State of the Union is tonight, okay? That's at 8 o'clock Central Time. But there is an alternative event going on right now. As I said at the start of the show, everything that happens now, there's got to be an alternative event. We're so divided, I suppose. And so there's someone talking right now. I can see it on the screen. We can check in on this because we've got a feed going on. We'll listen in. I wish I knew who this person was. I don't. I do know that Robert De Niro and Mark Ruffalo, the actors, were supposed to be there. If you've been paying attention to Robert De Niro and his politics, he does not like President Trump, to say the least. I don't see him up on there. So let's check in on this for a little bit. Once again, and if you're just joining us as well, there's a QR code on the left-hand side of your screen. You can scan that with your phone. You can send us your comments, questions, pictures, videos, what have you, and we will try to respond to those in real time as well. So just go ahead and scan that QR code. But let's check in on the state of the swamp here. This is in DC, it looks like.
Don't kiss up to him. Don't kiss up to him. Just calm down. All right. From the great state of Montana.
Great crowd. Great crowd.
All right. Now, you believed in bipartisanship. You believed in a good time when Congress could do its job, where elected officials had a duty to the Constitution, where these people need to actually fulfill their oaths and keep people in check. However, the question I have for you, how do we get to 250 when one of the two parties are now reeks to a right-wing authoritarian, where Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz live in the anus of Donald Trump, and too soon? Or not soon enough. And if I may, many Democrats believe that the Democratic Party, I'm using their words, are spineless, feckless, weak, and cowardly. How do we get to 250 when a Congress is not doing its job?
With groups like this, that's how. Let me tell you what. This country has always been about we the people. And when folks stand up and make sure their voices heard, people change. I believe in bipartisanship. And I think there's one bipartisan thing that Congress needs to do right after the election next year when Democrats take over the House and the Senate, and that's impeach the son of a bitch. What? And guess what? Last time I checked, it has to be done in a bipartisan way. So they ought to get after it and get her done. Let me tell you something. I come from rural America. Rural America voted for Donald Trump, and what this guy's done to rural America is absolutely, unequivocally unacceptable. What he's done to the markets for our farmers, what he's done to our health care system, what he's done to housing, what he's done to... Man, oh man, more things than I got fingers on my hand to count them. I will tell you. It's insane. And I've got to tell you, the only thing that I know that, by the way, Congress has been asleep at the wheel for 13 months, but the only thing that I know that Congress can do to hold the executive branch accountable is they need to get a hold of some folks, just like they did back in Nixon's time, and say, well, do we have enough votes to impeach this dude? Because they should. And then they walk into the White House and say, guess what? You're going to hit the road, Jack.
I'm going to ask you a quick follow-up. Democrats right now have the lowest favorability rating in 3 decades. I heard you. What would you want Democrats to do in this moment to regain the trust of people so that, inshallah, we can get to 250?
Well, I mean, the truth is they need to start challenging the administration on everything that's out there, and some of them have been. But the bottom line, they need to, and they need to start talking about issues that people will talk about at their kitchen table, because they're not. And they need to. Starting with affordability, starting with making sure that businesses out there got a shot, and working families got a shot, and family farm and ranch agriculture got a shot. They need to talk about the issues that are important in this country. They've forgotten about that.
I would say maybe even tax the billionaires. Just throwing it out there. That's just me. That's me. Tara, give it up for Tara Sedmeyer. Tara, we are limping towards 250. Inshallah, will we get there? How do we get there when it seems like in the past 10 years, every institution has capitulated to Donald Trump. Whether it's corporate
once again,
firms,
guys,
whether
you're
it's
listening
corporate
into
media,
this
whether
sort
it's
of
our
alternative
titans of
event that's
industry
going
in the
on outside of
front
Washington,
row,
D.C. here.
Tim Apple
We're just
and
about
others.
35 minutes away, I should say
How do we
45
get there
minutes
when our
away from the
institutions
State of the
are failing
Union
us?
address by President Donald Trump, which is
Well, if we all
expected to
remember
start
that this country
at
was
8
founded
p.m.
on we the
Central
people, not
Time.
corporations.
There's been some
So the
jokes
way that
online
you
about
get
what's the
there
over-under going to be on
is
how
you hold
long
the
this thing
bastards
lasts.
accountable.
So
Period.
I don't know. I
We
was
are at
asking
an
some
inflection
people around
point in
here,
this
curious
country.
what you guys think.
We
Will
have
we
to
talk
make a
for an
decision
hour, hour and a
whether
half,
we're
2
going to
hours,
stand up
and then
or
of course
stand
the
by.
Democrats will have
And
their
there is
response.
no
And this is an
time for
alternative
people to
event that's going on,
lukewarm about
obviously,
where
from
they
the
stand.
Democratic side,
And the
and it's
more
called
that we
State of the
are
Swamp.
looking at what's happening,
And
if you
we've heard
feel
from
as though
speakers
you want
here
America to celebrate its 250th
calling out Donald
birthday
Trump,
and for
saying
this
that
democracy to be
Congress
built,
needs to
then
step
it's up to
in.
us.
They
Democracy
haven't over
doesn't
the last
defend itself.
year.
We are
The
responsible
person
for
that
that.
just spoke on the left
So
there
institutions
said that they should
don't
try and
defend
impeach
themselves.
him.
We
So
are the
we've got
ones
some
that
very
make sure
upset
those
people here at the State of the
institutions are still
Swamp.
standing.
Once
So I
again,
think
and I've
it's
said this like
important
3
for people to
times, but
understand
we were
that
told that Robert
we
De
still
Niro
do
and Mark
have the
Ruffalo
power.
would be there.
Doesn't
Maybe some
matter
of you
whether
don't know who
Donald
Mark
Trump
Ruffalo
tries to
is,
flood
but
the zone
he
and
plays
tries
Hulk
to, do
in the
things to
Marvel
make us feel
movies.
as though we are
Robert De Niro,
helpless
you
or
should probably know who
hopeless,
Robert De Niro
he's
is.
going to
So,
do what he wants to do. We
he
have
hates
to
Trump,
say,
so
not
we'll
no,
obviously
hell
hear
no.
from him, I hope, at some
And it
point,
starts with
maybe before the
things
show
like
is
this.
over here.
When we
So
gather, you build
we'll see.
community, you do
In
the
terms
No
of
Kings protests,
any
you have to
Texas
hold
ties
Democrats
to
accountable also.
the State of the Union address tonight, I did want to
you
point
can't
out
have a
a
resistance
tweet that
that's
was sent out by
scared
Stephen
to be a
Dial, who is
resistance,
one of
right?
our people for Fox
So,
in Dallas. He does a great
the way
job.
that people who are
He says
elected
AG
officials
Ken
respond
Paxton will be
is
the
that they have
guest
to be
of
reminded who
Representative
they
Troy
work for.
Nels at
Just
the
like
State of the
Donald Trump
Union.
and that administration
Senator John
works for
Cornyn,
us,
the
so
Republican,
do
the
the
incumbent, will
Democrats.
also
So
be in
if you
attendance.
have people that
Representative
you feel
Wesley
are not
Hunt
standing up and
is hosting
fighting
a
the way
watch
you
party,
want
I
them to,
believe.
then you
That
have
is
to
in
say,
Georgetown. I
people
wish we
are
had a
willing to fight
camera on
and
that,
stand up,
perhaps. It doesn't look
or
like we
we're
do.
voting your ass
But
out.
Wesley
We'll
Hunt,
find someone
Ken
who
Paxton,
will.
John Cornyn all
That's
going
how we
after
make
it
it.
in
It
the
is
Republican
up to
primary
every
there for
one of
senator.
us.
And of course,
And
John
I think the
Cornyn,
more
that's a
that
seat he has
Americans
held
realize
for
that,
nearly a
the
quarter
more that we
century.
will coalesce
But Ken
around
Paxton
beating
breathing
back
down
this
his neck.
fascist movement
Wesley
and
Hunt trying to
embracing our
prove
democracy. Don't
why
let
he
them
can take that
co-opt
seat
that
as
from
well. We
us.
actually just
They don't
had
get to say- they
Wesley
don't
Hunt
get
in
to
here
own
not too long ago
patriotism.
talking with
They
our
don't get
chief
to own
political
what
reporter,
democracy is. They
Rudy
don't get to
Koski,
take our
that March
freedoms from
primary
us.
only a week
Only
away.
if
A
you
week
let
away
them.
from
And I
today.
say no,
We'll
no,
be
not no,
covering
no,
it
no.
here in our major studio. We'll be covering that thing from now until then. It's
this crowd
sort of
seems
the most
very,
exhausting thing. So
this seems like a
we're
very
going to take another
centrist
break.
crowd,
If anything
filled
happens
with
with this
many,
State of the Swamp
milquetoast
situation, we'll of course switch back into it. I'm not quite sure who those people were that were talking, but if anybody of note comes back in, we'll switch over to it. You're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. Hey guys, welcome back into Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. You can, of course, watch us on YouTube Live as well. Just go to our page, Fox 7 Austin, hit the live tab. You can watch there. You can rewatch episodes as well. And if you've noticed, in the left-hand corner of the screen there, we have a QR code. Don't you hate it when you go to a restaurant and you don't get a physical menu and you have to scan the QR code? I'm one of those people, I guess. I don't like scanning the QR code. But this is a little different here. So if you scan that QR code, you can share comments, images with us, and we'll try to respond to those as best we can. We'll see how that works out. Before we left, we were looking in on the State of the Swamp, which is sort of this alternative event to what's going on tonight with the State of the Union address with President Trump. And during the commercial break, we did get some breaking news here coming out of the Fredericksburg area. This is just north of Fredericksburg. I do want to pull up this tweet now. This is the Texas A&M Forest Service. This is the incident information. This is the latest here. Here is the map. It says, alert, Texas A&M Forest Service is responding to a request for assistance in Gillespie County on the Nebo Mountain fire. The fire is an estimated 15 acres, 0% contained. That was 2 hours ago. Then we got just another update here just before 7 o'clock. It says, update, this fire in Gillespie County is at an estimated 250 acres now, only 5% contained. Fire activity has moderated and drops from aircraft have been successful in slowing fire spread. Firefighters continue suppression efforts. So here's an image right now of that fire burning just north of Fredericksburg in Gillespie County. 250 acres was the last report, 5% contained. Certainly something we're going to keep an eye on. There is a larger map too that I was just sent if we want to take a look at it on a more broad look here. And so I'll try to pull this map up. Here is the map of Texas here, and here are all of these fire incidents going on. So as you can see here, here's the one we were just talking about. You've got some over in this area as well. So just north of Fredericksburg here, if we want to zoom in, just so you guys know exactly where I'm talking about. 250 acres, 5% contained. There's another one up here. This is the Granite Valley fire. It says 169 acres. Thankfully, that one 90% contained. But the one here just north of Fredericksburg, it looks as though it's only 5% contained. But we were told by the Texas A&M Forest Service that the aircraft drops that they were bringing in were successful. That's certainly good to hear. We do know it's been dry around here. We do know there's been these red flag warnings, of course. We've got another one here, the Cedar Gulch. This was last updated today. That's in Burnett County, 237 acres, 95% containment. So that's a good sign, obviously. But those are the active ones pretty much in our area here. If you look more towards Huntsville here, if we zoom in, here's another one. This is the Walker 1825, only 1 acre, 75% contained. So that doesn't appear to be a problem. But the one we were just talking about, the one that is really more so the new one, if you will, is the one right here. I'll go back to that original tweet now from the Texas A&M Forest Service. Here's the image that they're providing to us right now. The Nebo, I believe that's how you say it, Nebo Mountain fire in Gillespie County, estimated 250 acres, only 5% contained. It says the fire activity is moderated and drops from aircraft have been successful in slowing the fire spread. Firefighters continue those suppression efforts. Just to give you an idea on the map, just north of Fredericksburg. We'll continue to keep an eye on this, and I'll continue to keep an eye on the larger map across Texas as well to see if there are any other fires that we need to check in on. But this is breaking news just outside of Gillespie County. We're going to take one final quick break, just make sure we have all our ducks in a row here, and then we'll close out the show. All right, just a quick break there, guys. Was checking to make sure we had all of our ducks in a row here. As I mentioned, the breaking news coming out of Gillespie County, the Nebo Mountain fire here. Estimated 250 acres, only 5% contained, but thankfully it looks as though drops from aircraft have been successful in trying to slow this thing down. firefighters continue their suppression efforts. We've only got about 2 minutes left here in the show on this Tuesday. We are a week out from the March primary. We'll, of course, have a ton of coverage here right on Fox 7. We'll also be streaming. We'll have the main show, social media, our website, you name it. I did want to check in one last time on the State of the Swamp situation that's going on here in D.C., an alternative event to the State of the Union address, which is going to start in just about 30 minutes. And we will come on late because of that. So if you're looking for your regular 9 o'clock news, that's why you won't see it. But we will have our show coming on after that. In terms of how long it will last, we've had some people ask, okay, how long is this thing going to be? We know Trump. He's quite long-winded, likes to talk, likes to be in front of a microphone. So I assume this thing will at least be 90 minutes, and then you're going to have the Democratic response, which is, of course, not usually nearly as long. It may be 5-10 minutes, who knows. That will be done by Abigail Spanberger, the new Virginia governor, on the Democratic side there. And then we'll, of course, have our 10 o'clock show come after that as well. So the news will come on. You'll get the news. It'll just come a little bit later. And one of the stories to watch out for, Jenna King's story involving a letter that Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick sent to Texas DSHS urging them not to issue a camping license to Camp Mystic, obviously after the horrific events of the 4th of July flooding where 27 campers and counselors lost their lives. Marco Bittino will have a story regarding anti-Semitism as well. You want to check in on that. You can, of course, check us out here on the Fox Local app, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 6:30 to 7:30. You can follow us on social media. You can follow us on our TikTok here as well. Little simulcast action. And also that QR code. Scan that, share your comments and images with us. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.